We're here today at the 2011 Jackson County Extension Cotton Production Meeting. Dr. Jay Farrell of the Agronomy Department at the University of Florida presented to us on weed control, and unfortunately he wasn't able to be here in person. He did make a presentation to our growers via the internet, and so I've asked Clyde Smith if he would give us a summary of some of the key points farmers need to consider in weed control in their cotton this year.
Thanks, Doug. As Doug mentioned, Jay wasn't able to join us today in person. He did make a lot of good points today, and when we start talking about weed control in cotton, we're really looking at Palmer Amaranth. We can control most other weeds fairly handily if we're on top of them, but Palmer Amaranth is one of those weeds that we cannot allow any of them to escape us and go on. 98–99% weed control is fine with morning glory and a lot of other things that we deal with, but 98% and anything below 98% is really going to be painful with Palmer, because it can undo everything you've done in your weed control program if you don't control it. So with that, we really need to focus on getting away from a single use or single herbicide use in cotton production to control our weeds. We need to start looking at a multitude of herbicides and herbicide families, meaning how they control weeds, and also herbicides that have residual activity as opposed to just having foliar activity on emerged weeds. We need to not think about controlling everything over the top. One of the products that we have relied on, and Jay mentioned this morning, was Valor, which is a very good herbicide. It does a lot of things for us. It needs to go out well before cotton planting to avoid any kind of injury. And one of the things that Jay mentioned today is that the closer you get to the planting date, environmental conditions can influence the amount of injury you get. Another herbicide that we've just gotten registered in Florida that is in the same family, in the PPO family of herbicides, is a product called Reflex. And Reflex is very good. It can go out after planting and before the crop emerges, so that you can get some good residual weed control there. But you do need to be careful again there, and if you get too much rain when the cotton's coming up, you can see some injury with it as well. So those are not silver bullets. Then after that, we also have what we call the yellow herbicides, or the DNAs, and like Prowl and Treflan. Those products can be used to good effect at giving us a good head start on keeping the cotton field clean and keeping Palmer Amaranth out of it, along with products like Cotoran, Carmex, or Diuron that can go out at planting. And those give you some residual control, give you a weed-free period there early in the season, which is important for cotton yield. And then as those begin to play out, then you need to look at combining a residual herbicide with your post-emergence herbicides, like Roundup or Ignite if you're using Liberty Link cotton, to give you some extended duration of weed control. And with that, we've got Dual Magnum that can go out on cotton. We also have Staple that can go out, and both of those products, if you can keep the fields clean and get those out onto bare ground, then they're going to give you some residual control in your cotton production as well. Then as cotton gets some more mature, we can lay by with product with Valor or Caparol, MSMA, some other weeds. But I think the key thing that Jay hit on today was we need to manage these weeds when they're as small as possible to prevent them from being an escape. And that is in critical with the lay-by applications as much as it is the early season applications, to keep them out of the field. And then one good point that Jay did bring up at the end was that after you harvest the cotton, if we've got any warm weather at all, you need to look at doing an application of 2,4-D or dicamba or one of those types of products to remove the volunteers that come up after you pick the cotton, to keep you from setting another seed crop, because one Palmer Amaranth can produce hundreds of thousands of seed. Even a small one can produce tens of thousands of seed. So we want to keep the fields clean, and that's the whole issue with weed control with Palmer Amaranth, is you start it clean and you keep it clean, and you end up being able to decrease the population.
Thank you, Clyde. And Jay also mentioned that there are 2 new fact sheets on the EDIS or EDIS website. That's the University of Florida's fact sheet website that deals specifically with Palmer Amaranth control in agronomic crops. I'm Doug Mayo from the Jackson County Extension Office from the 2011 Cotton Production Meeting.